his transition very well. He's great to be around, and just in the short time we've known him, he came here with a purpose. And the guys around him respect it. He backs it up with a lot of his play. So, but you could have chosen probably a couple of those guys out of that room. So, all we got a lot of good kids in there.
Was there anything that you couldn't see on film when you recruited him that you've noticed since he's been here?
That I couldn't see previously?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's come in and done a really good job. He's got a good feel for concepts and schemes that we run. When guys are, they've got experience in doing it and playing multiple games in their college career, gone through multiple game plans, they can adjust pretty well to the things that we ask them to do. So, he's done a great job for sure.
Where have you seen? Shane Lee's played a lot of football, but this offseason, what have you seen from him this year?
I think it's more intent. Not that maybe last year wasn't intentional, but you got some data points to look at on where you can what you did well and what are some things that you can improve. I think there's a lot of intentional work on his part as well as everybody else in the room in terms of taking our next step to be more productive and things that we need to do to play better defense.
With Eric Gentry, we saw him tweet that he's gained some weight over the offseason. How would you kind of describe the transformation he's made?
I think, we knew going into it a year ago that, he's going to need to add weight. And it's not going to be a deal that was going to be done overnight. But the thing, as you saw throughout the season, he probably maybe lost a step where it would be the ankle injury or, just maintaining that weight throughout the year. And just like everybody else, you look at it at the end of the year and there's some data points that there's some feedback that you got that was some good, a lot of it not very good. So it's something that we all kind of made a huge commitment to, and everybody in the program, because he can be a program-changing guy when he's healthy and playing well. And for him to be his best version, he's going to have to, he's going to have to add some weight and continue to add weight and be able to maintain it throughout the year and stay healthy. So, but there's been a huge emphasis on that for the multiple people throughout the program, including Eric.
In terms of his playing performance, what was the area that he had to really hone in on to get to the next level this year?
A lot of, and this goes for a lot of those guys in that room, Eric had never actually played inside linebacker. He'd done some main things athletically that we had seen on film. Obviously, he's got pretty good speed, and obviously he's got length. His willingness to be physical at the point of contact was good, but again, with his strength gains and his weight gains, that's going to be better. But just like across the board, all those guys identifying some things that they can improve on, and go attack it, and see where it all shakes out.
What are some of those, when you talk about data points and the things that you guys really look at going from last year to this year, where's the improvement there? Yeah,
so especially at linebacker, it's you can go as far as you want with it, but did you have a guy in position to make the play? Was it if you didn't have a guy in position to make a play, then we need to look at what we're doing. And then, but if you do have a guy to make in position to make a play, why didn't he make the play? Is there something going on in his head? Is there maybe a gray area on the coaching point? Is there a lack of trust in fundamentals? But a lot of those things we're tackling in coverage, the mental errors. Those are some things that obviously we keep talking about data points and feedback on what's good and what wasn't good. And kind of build off of that.
With Tackett, how does he compare to the other freshman linebackers you've had over the years in terms of where he's at? Yeah,
he's got a unique ability to not complicate things in terms of what's his job on that play. And the job is tackle the guy with the football. He doesn't complicate that. And that's a refreshing thing to be around. Because, some guys get paralyzed on I don't know the exact assignment. I can't remember the exact assignment that I'm supposed to be doing here, but at the end of the day, it does not confuse that with pulling the trigger and going tackling the out of football. And, that's why you saw so much production out of him throughout the spring practices, and his knowledge of the playbook has steadily gotten better, and I'm expecting a lot of good things out of him this fall and fall camp.
You recruited him for many years.
Yeah. I've recruited that. I recruited that high school in particular for, I've represented 3 different schools going into that high school. So his uncle is the head coach, and he's no longer there. He left to go to another place this offseason. But I recruited that high school for tackles like 5th grade.
Do you recall the first moment you saw him on film and he really popped? You said, "Oh, this is a guy we got to work with."
Yeah, I mean, his uncle reached out to me after his freshman year and was like, "You might want to look at this kid." And I'm like, he sent me his name. Like, okay, so it's like your son or your nephew. And I watched it. I was like, "Oh, okay, he's a legit guy." So, Jess Curtis, he does a good job.
Where were you at that point when you first?
When I first started recruiting there, Missouri.
Okay.
University.
So you have a lot of, different kinds of linebackers in your room when it comes to size and abilities and all that. How do you kind of separate all of them in terms of where they go?
Yeah.
And how do you kind of look at the depth chart and decide who plays where?
It's a big challenge. I mean, because there's, we've got legit competition to get on the field this year. It's a legit competition to get on the field, and I think you get the baseline. Can all of those guys be able to do the bare minimum to get on the field at Mike or at will? And the answer is, obviously would be considering them if it wasn't a yes on that. And then after you kind of get the base level, can they line up? Can they run well enough? Can they tackle? Can they handle their stuff in coverage? Past that, what separates them from the next guy? How consistent are they? Are they going to be able to possibly change the game in terms of being able to be a playmaker on defense? So those are some things that we're going to look at with all those guys. Consistency is a big deal, but also playmaking ability on the defensive side of the ball is also going to be a separator. And how many times in a row can you do it? We talk about being elite. Everybody can do some good things once in a while, and the good ones do it, often, and the elite ones do it all the time. There's not a lot of drop in production, but those elite guys are the ones that can continually separate themselves. They have some sort of dominant trait to be able to separate, them from my athletic ability, something like that. You know what I'm saying? So anything that you kind of becomes evident throughout practices.
How would you characterize how Eric Gentry kind of handled this offseason?
Throughout the year last year, and kind of by the time we got towards the end of the year, he did a really good job of absorbing the playbook. He's pretty football smart, and he'll be able to kind of to go back and forth between Mike and Will. There's some scenarios you would love to have him, as a boundary overhang and with his wingspan. There's some other times you'd like to have him in the middle of the field and take some things away. But again, they're fairly interchangeable in terms of Mike and Will and what we can do with those positions. But obviously with his skill sets, there's some things that you'd like to see him do. There's some things that maybe, as another guy in the room might be a little bit better.
Is the hope when you have those two guys that you want guys with different skill sets to kind of complement each other, or similar skills?
I think they all kind of have. I mean, there's different at the highest level of what they can do. There's some different abilities there, but for the most part, we're looking for you want playmakers out there, guys that be consistent and go play hard.
It seemed to be a pivotal year for Rajon Davis.
Yeah, for sure.
Where's he at in his development?
Rajon has done a great job since we've gotten here. When we got here in a year and a half ago, he was just kind of there. He's a little bit immature as a freshman, and he was kind of in almost a little bit lost in terms of coaching change and all that. But he's done a really good job over the past, especially the last half of the season, to be able to earn the right to go get on the field. He had a ton of reps in special teams a year ago, which was very valuable for him to continue his growth. There was an investment made on our part as a staff to be able to continue to develop him as an inside linebacker, and it showed some dividends this spring. He had a really good spring. I'm very confident in Rajon to be able to go out, and again, he's going to be in that group of guys that's going to compete. How consistent can he be on a day-to-day basis? You know, I don't question any kind of work ethic with him. I think he works hard. I think he plays hard. But, you know, how consistent can he be in practice, and can he separate himself through making plays within those practices?
Prince Joel's, it was the first time he's ever gone back, and not only with the game film from last season, but practices last fall.
Yeah.
What does that kind of just say for the way you guys felt coming off of last year, and what you have to do to find the answers?
Well, I think that, you know, I think you got to put your priority in playing really good defensive football. And, you know, sounds however it sounds, but, you know, we got a good team, you know, and go out and play very well. But our objective, and I know how that sounds, but like our main objective as a defense needs to be 11 guys playing great defense. It doesn't need to be about just winning the game, because you saw last year a lot of times when we had the game probably in hand, it was the worst that we played. And, you know, in the linebacker room, we talk about playing good football. And it doesn't matter if it's 6 a.m. when we start practice. It doesn't matter if we win 40-0. It doesn't matter if we're getting beat. It doesn't matter if, you know, we've had a bad game, or, you know, you've missed a couple tackles. It's all about those 11 guys that's on the field that's playing good football. And that's got to be the main focus, and not just about winning. It's got to be about playing great football every snap.
Coach Solo's kind of jumped around. Well, he's kind of jumped around last year and this year.
Who's that?
Solo.
Yeah.
To Liverpool. You know, he came in as a linebacker.
Yeah.
Was there any conversation last offseason about him joining the linebacker?
Yeah. Whenever we first got here, maybe the first position being I had, he might have been in there. Watching like off-season workouts when we first got here, like movement skills and just kind of maybe his injury history that he's had, we thought probably his best bet would maybe play on the edge. And that guy had a really, really good spring. Very proud of him. And he had, his head was in a good spot. He was a leader out there. And the things that Solo does well, they really showed up in spring ball.
Was there any conversation with him about, you know, moving on and joining the transfer portal?
I don't know. If there was, I wasn't involved in it. But, you know, I'm really happy that he's here.
We've heard Lincoln mention a couple of times year 1 to year 2 differences. Eve of fall camp now, can you remember back to what it felt like going into fall camp last year, and just kind of what's the feeling defensively right now going into this?
I mean, and kind of like I was talking before, you know, there's actual evidence of good and bad, and you know there's this you know, a year ago it's a hypothetical good and bad, like it hadn't happened yet. You know, it had happened, but it wasn't while we were here, and a lot of the guys that were on the team a year ago it was their first season here as well, you know, and now, you know, you got some things to look at. Some things went good, some things went really bad. Obviously, there's reminders about that every day. So you kind of look at that and see, you know, where can we get better.
How much do you talk about last year?
I don't think you really talk about it as much. I think that you know, it's obviously there's a motivation to play much better, and I think that even if we would have played great the whole year, there would still be motivation to play a lot better. So to sit there and dwell on that, I don't think that's a positive thing. But I do think that knowing what we do know, we've got to play better.
In this defense specifically, I guess, when you add so much to that defensive line, just in terms of bulk and mass, what does maybe improved play up there do for your group?
Oh yeah, I mean, ask a running back or ask a quarterback, about if they've got a good offensive line or not. It's no doubt. It's a direct reflection on how we play, and also how we play is a direct reflection on how those guys play as well. So, it's exciting to see some of those guys that are out there now, for sure.
From a coaching standpoint, how do you approach, I guess, kind of like you were talking about, not necessarily dwelling on what happened last year, but utilizing it as opposed to just burying it? How do you kind of balance that?
Well, there's some, you got to be, a lot of this goes into being very transparent and honest and building trust before anything ever happens. So you can have real candid and real conversations with guys about where they stand, what the expectation level is, and and you can bring some things to their attention. But if it's always a feel-good session, it's not going to do very much good. And if it's always a negative thing, it's not going to do very much good either. So I think that it's more than just bringing things up from the past or this is where we got to get better. It's more about being their coach, identifying things that are good, tell them it's good, identify things that are bad, tell them it's bad. And then also, not only tell them it's good or tell them it's bad, tell them why it's good, tell them why it's bad, how can I go and fix it.
How do you guys address, Coach Grinch talked about fourth quarter, sort of really being able to finish through those 60 minutes. How do you address that? Like physical, mental?
It's both. I think it's both. I think it's it's where do you place your emphasis? And I was talking earlier about if your only focus is just winning the game, we just want to win the game. Well, a lot of those games that we didn't finish the game very well is because the game was probably in hand, and we didn't finish very well. Not all of them, but some of them. And with that being said, if your focus is rather than just winning the game, let's focus on playing great defense every snap and doing my own individual job every snap. And I think that there's a little bit of different psychology to it, for sure.
Is that something that you can take from last season? You missed something, or there was a deficiency that you can correct for this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're aware of it, for sure. It's but there's a lot of things we'll do in practices that emphasizes, the longer we go, the longer it goes, the better we get.
That seems like the theme.
Yeah. The longer it goes, the better we get.
Yeah, that's what Coach Manning was saying.
Yeah.
Two more. How difficult is it to properly evaluate how much better you're going to be going against Coach Riley and Caleb every day in practice?
Oh yeah, that's not only with obviously. I mean, that's obvious with Lincoln and Caleb and the rest of the guys that they have in offense. But that's every defense in America has got to detox themselves a little bit from their own offense when they go play the season. And not that you're going to change your defense completely, but it's just every offense has got a different little thing. But then also, if you're competing against the same guys day in and day out in the same scheme day in and day out, just like the offense has to maybe detox themselves from us a little bit as well. So I think that's everybody in America, but it probably magnifies itself a little bit more with Lincoln and Caleb.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.